The first homunculus to make a significant impact on us, Lust, is one of the more loyal homunculi under Father. She does many a task for him, helping him get closer to his desire of becoming the new god. Because Lust is the product of a philosopher's stone, she is a terrible foe to stand against. With the stones holding so many lives, it is tremendously difficult to kill a bearer of such stones due to them having much more existential durability than a cat. In fact, a fight against a homunculus is like a video game boss fight where your opponent can constantly respawn no matter what. She plays an antagonistic role in both Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. However, her presence in the former is more prominent and drawn out, while Lust perishes relatively early in the 2009 anime. Still, she has served as the intermediary bridge between the human pawns of the story and the central antagonist in both versions of the show. In today's video, we will go over Lust's life as a woman who was one of the biggest players responsible for pulling the strings in Amestris. Under Father's guidance, it was Lust who did most of the marionette's work. An allure that conceals a dark truth. Introduction to Lust in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. An embodiment of one of the 7 deadly sins, Lust appears as a gorgeous, magnetic, and alluring woman with smooth skin and long, dark hair. Dressed in an all-black outfit that leaves her shoulders and chest bare to boast the mark of her Ouroboros tattoo, Lust is ironically not the most lascivious person. She effortlessly seduces men with her siren-like appeal, using them as her stepping stones and helping hands. In a way, she presents herself as the object of men's desire and invokes lust in them to get the job done. She is one of the show's first antagonists to be revealed, which is evident from the fact that Lust appears in the first arc of both Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. This incident took place when the Elric brothers exposed a fraudulent priest named Father Cornello in the cult of Leto. The man had promised his believers that he could help them attain wealth and resurrect their loved ones from the dead. Meanwhile, he harbored the intention of using the resurrected in his army, hoping that they could annex Amestris together. Although a fraud, there was some truth in Father Cornello's statements of miracle, as he was made to believe that doing so was possible. And we only have Lust to thank for that, because she was responsible for handing out a partially complete Philosopher's Stone to him. She nudged him into attacking Amestris as she intended to incite war, bloodshed, and deaths at a specific point in the country, triggering the nationwide transmutation circle that ran beneath its ground. With lives being lost at such carefully crafted points, Lust's benefactor, that is Father, would be able to sacrifice more souls and absorb the truth or the god within the Fullmetal Alchemist verse. Because of the Elric brothers' expose of Father Cornello being useless in the grand scheme of things, he was soon mercilessly killed by Lust. She opted for a new plan of action where she got her homunculus brother Envy to impersonate him. In the guise of the priest, Envy angered the townsfolk and the homunculi led the people to civil unrest by turning the people against one another. In the end, they successfully caused the necessary bloodshed, while Lust also decided to stay on the lookout for the Elric brothers due to their capability of becoming necessary sacrifices in the future. From the get-go, we are made very aware of Lust's brutality and sadistic nature. Although she is often seen with her fellow homunculus Gluttony, she is seemingly more dangerous due to her persona. Lust is the type of being who takes pleasure in the torture of others and finds happiness in their sufferings. Despite not being lustful towards men, Lust evidently lusts to cause harm to those who oppose her, more specifically, humans. She represents another vice, as Lust is overly proud of being a superior homunculus and not a human. She considers humans to be far, far, far beneath her. She also does not possess any guilt. She kills without remorse, fakes her identity to seduce men for personal benefit, and does the same with Mustang's associate, Jean Havoc. For him, Lust appears as a modestly dressed woman named Solaris, who eventually dates Havoc to get information about the Amestrian military. Because she is so dangerous already, matters get worse when we learn how powerful Lust is. Known as the ultimate spear, Lust can extend her fingertips into thin and lethal blades that can shred through any material. These blades have infinite range. Other than that, being a homunculus comes with the advantage of being able to regenerate. As long as her core with the Philosopher's Stone remains intact, Lust is effectively immortal. How Lust's involvement in the death of Maze Hughes put the events of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood into motion. Most of the bigger events in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood took place in the Amestrian capital of Central City. The city also held 5 laboratories that were the hubs of military activity, with Laboratory 5 being relatively inactive. In reality, that laboratory was a human testing laboratory that was being used by Father and the homunculi to make Philosopher's Stones. Laboratory 3 was suspicious as well, and and was later revealed to connect the city to the Father's den. Throughout it all, Lust was in charge of supervising the alchemic experiments in these two laboratories. Such experiments ranged from acts of human transmutations or turning people into a chimera, all for the sake of giving them more access to Philosopher's Stones. She had also extracted the souls of convicts on death row and fused them to metal armor with blood seals, hoping to make them guard the laboratories. Barry the Chopper was one such notable example. These laboratories were located at 5 key points of the nationwide transmutation circle. In the first episode, a rogue alchemist tried to warn the Elric brothers of something suspicious taking place in Amestris, and this could be one of the many things he was indirectly referring to. But the laboratories and the cult of Leto were far from being the only targets under Lust's radar. During the course of the show, she sought out the Ishvalan war survivor Scar and struck a deal with him. Previously, the homunculi had orchestrated a war against Ishval that resulted in them nearly being wiped out. Meanwhile, the blame was shifted to the Amestris military, which meant that Scar, who was oblivious to the homunculi being the main culprits, wanted revenge against the military. With Lust in the foray, she convinced him to kill state alchemists, and so he did. But when he began to target the likes of the Elric brothers, he became a problem to the homunculi, as they needed certain alchemists who had opened the gate of truth to be alive for being sacrificed on D-Day. With Scar's actions being detrimental to Father's plans, Lust and Gluttony nearly killed him, but Scar managed to escape. Meanwhile, Edward Elric began to come closer to the truth after his experience at Laboratory 5. Things got worse when Edward's military superior, Maze Hughes, managed to piece together the truth of the story to a good extent, bringing him under the radar of Lust. Although he fled after being wounded by her in their altercation, he was soon killed by envy. Because the Flame Alchemist, or Colonel Roy Mustang, had always been very close to Maze Hughes, he set out to avenge him in a way. At the same time, the homunculi couldn't kill the Colonel because he was their potential sacrifice, so they put an innocent officer named Maria Ross under the bus to redirect Mustang's wrath towards her. Although this worked for a while, it only happened because the homunculi continued to be unaware of Mustang knowing about Hughes not being killed by Maria Ross. The birth of Lust, where brotherhood pales in comparison to the darker, grittier 2003 anime. Before we get down to the climax, we would like to discuss how Lust became a homunculus in the 2003 as well as the 2009 series. And while the 2009 retelling stays true to how the manga finished the story of its 2003 counterpart may be more interesting for many. Philosopher's Stones have been used in creating the homunculi across both the versions of the anime, but the 2003 story required another specific action. Here, homunculi were the results of failed human transmutations. The human who was the subject in a failed alchemical ritual where someone tried to bring them back to life appeared as a messy corpse at first, but eventually these beings turned into the homunculi. For example, Edward and Alphonse's mother became Sloth, Izumi Curtis's stillborn child became Wrath, and Lust was originally the lover of Scar's brother. However, after her death, the man tried to bring her back to life where she became Lust. Eventually though, she began to recover her memories from her life as a human, and as such, wanted to become human once again. Due to this desire, she betrayed the other homunculi towards the end. In fact, the primary antagonist, Dante, had made a promise to her that he would make Lust human again, proving the presence of humanity within the homunculus. In this series, homunculi need to be brought close to something that reminds them of their past life, along with their red stones being drained. This is the only way to kill them, and with respect to Lust, it was a locket that contained a strand of hair from her life as a human. In the manga, and by extension the 2009 anime, homunculi are created with Philosopher's Stones and the vices present within Father. After evolving from the dwarf in the flask to a humanoid creature with a human body, Father had split his 7 deadly sins to create his 7 children. With a Philosopher's Stone, which was literally made by killing people and trapping their souls, and an individual vice such as greed, lust, or pride, Father created his perfect homunculus. So, how did the original Lust finally meet her end? Souls drained by fire. How Lust finally met her demise at the hands of the Flame Alchemist. In the Battle in Laboratory 3 arc, Solaris, or Lust, exposed the truth about herself to Jean Havoc and Colonel Roy Mustang. She took shots fired by Mustang to the head and shoulders and tanked them like she was an anime character, which, well, I guess she is. Lust continued to regenerate and used her blade-like nails to rip open her own chest as she showed the Amestrians her Philosopher's Stone. She also cut the water lines above them to incapacitate the Flame alchemist who was weaker in water. Eventually, Lust killed Havoc in front of Mustang, who took out the Philosopher's Stone from her chest. However, she soon manifested around the stone and impaled the Colonel with her nails. She then inflicted severe damage on him and left after destroying his alchemic glove. She left the room and later attacked Alphonse and Riza Hawkeye, albeit not to a huge degree. However, the Flame Alchemist soon returned after cutting a transmutation circle into his skin. He used it to engulf Lust in an inferno of flames, all while being in pretty bad shape himself. He also used the now dead Havoc's lighter to fuel his alchemy and himself, which allowed him to once again get the edge in battle. Mustang revealed how he used his own flames to cauterize the wounds left on him by Lust. He then used his flame alchemy repeatedly on Lust to burn her over and over again. Her body kept regenerating, and Mustang spent no time in burning it to the core. Ultimately, there came a point where Lust attacked Mustang, who incinerated her once again. But this time, Lust was unable to regenerate because she was now out of the soul life she had acquired from her twisted Philosopher's Stones. With nowhere to go, Lust started to turn into ash, which prompted her to admit defeat. Despite being cocky, Lust acknowledged Mustang's caliber and claimed that she did not mind losing to someone like him due to his eyes depicting honesty and his lack of hesitation in killing her. She also threatened him that those eyes of his would soon reflect anguish as she disintegrated. Ultimately, her life came to an end with the Philosopher's Stone breaking apart. Marvelous verdict! What made the conditions of Lust's demise so interesting was how she died in a way that was somehow related to the sin of her embodiment. Colonel Mustang was well known to be a serial dater, and he lusted after the position of Führer of Amestris. He also killed her to express his wrath, which is another deadly sin, and we all know that Mustang killed Lust as an act of revenge for the death of Maze Hughes, so in a way, it was Lust that killed Lust. With that, today's video comes to an end. What did you think of Lust? Did you enjoy this video? If so, then don't forget to like and comment down below. Until then, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.